Hey guys, Kevin with MC Rider. Last week we talked about how training saved me from a motorcycle accident. If you haven't seen that video yet, go back and watch episode 8 of MC Rider. You can search for it on YouTube, MC Rider episode 8. I'll also put a link to it down in the description. If you're on a computer, I'll put a link to it here in the video for you to click and watch that first. But this week we're going to talk about two techniques, and I'm going to show you the way that I practice stopping quickly in a curve and the actual practice that saved me from that accident that we talked about in last week's episode. So go back and watch episode 8, and then this week's episode I'll show you two techniques, how I practice them, and how they can save you out on the road. Before I start showing you the two techniques for stopping quickly in a curve, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with your traction and why it makes it difficult to stop quickly in a curve. If you're riding down the road, if you're not under acceleration and you're not under any braking forces, your traction is at 100% because you're not putting any load on that tire. So you've got 100% traction, and that red bar over there represents the available braking power that you've got. As soon as you start to lean a motorcycle over in a curve, you're reducing the available traction that you've got because you're putting load on that tire. And also, you can see that red bar, you're reducing the amount of brake force that you've got available to apply to that tire as well. So the sharper the corner, the more lean angle you're using to get around that corner, you're reducing the amount of available traction, and you're reducing the amount of brake force that can be applied to that tire. So what happens in the case of a lot of low side accidents is the rider's got motorcycle leaned over. They keep it at that consistent lean angle, but they apply more brake force than that tire can handle, eventually overwhelming the traction and causing a bad day. Depending on the situation on the road, you're going to want to use one of these two techniques to stop the motorcycle quickly in a curve. So in a situation where the rider's got some runoff room, they enter into the curve leaning the motorcycle over, and then for some reason they need to stop quickly in a curve. The first thing they're going to do is straighten the motorcycle back up. So you're going to reduce all that lean angle. You're going to be riding in a straight line. Then that will allow you to apply maximum braking force in a smooth, progressive technique in order to get that motorcycle to a stop. So here's what it looks like when I practice a technique. I start into a corner, and then at first thing I straighten the motorcycle up. So head and eyes straight forward, squeeze in the clutch. You want to downshift to first if you're in a higher gear, and then begin applying that front and rear brake to get the motorcycle to come to a quick stop. As we showed earlier in the animation, it's important that you get the motorcycle straight before you apply maximum brake pressure. If you're in a situation where you can't straighten the motorcycle up first, like oncoming traffic, you'll want to use technique 2. To use this technique, you have to be smooth on the brakes. Too much brake force too soon, you're going to cause an accident. So using this technique, you begin smoothly applying a little bit of brake as you straighten the motorcycle back up. Then, once you get the motorcycle where you can straighten it up, you can apply maximum braking. So let's look at how I practice this technique. Now the difference here is, as I have the motorcycle leaned over, I'm already applying a little bit of that front brake smoothly. Then once I'm able to get into position where I can straighten the bike up, I can apply maximum braking. Let me emphasize again, if you apply too much brake pressure too quickly while the motorcycle is leaned over, you will lose traction and cause an accident. Now believe me, I know by watching hundreds of people learn this technique that the best place to learn it is in a classroom on somebody else's motorcycle. But if you feel comfortable doing this on your own bike, find a closed parking lot And this is how I practice the technique on my own. And I've practiced that technique until it became second nature to me. As we discussed in episode 8, I actually needed this on the road. And when it came time for me to put the skills into practice, they were second nature, and it wasn't something that I had to think about. So the important thing is to practice these techniques, to make it second nature in your riding skills so that when you need it, you don't have to think about it on the road, but it all just happens by instinct. Till next week, guys, this is Kevin with MC Rider, and we'll see you on the road.